Hi, everybody. I'm Ursula Crawford. I am the Family Resource Coordinator with Early Childhood Cares, and today I have Emily Little, the Executive Director of WellMama, here to chat with us about perinatal mental health. Thanks for joining me, Emily.
Thanks for having me, Ursula. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, I thought we could just start kind of addressing some factors in why the pregnancy and postpartum period can be so challenging for families in terms of mental health. Because I think people don't always understand that. I think we kind of expect it to just be like a really joyful time for people where like you should just be happy and everything should be great. So I think maybe building awareness of why it can be challenging is a good place to start.
Definitely. Well, I will say that you just kind of nailed it with what you said right there, which, the biggest problem really in our society is that people are facing this huge mismatch in expectations versus reality. So really, there's a confluence of many different factors that come together to make this a challenging period. But I would say first and foremost, it's this expectation that it's a perfect, joyful, easy period for people, when in fact it's not. Physiologically, there's huge changes happening. There's a dramatic shift in hormones that are happening for the birthing parent, and even for the partner, there's a change in hormones that are happening. Obviously, the act of giving birth is a huge physical feat, and despite our society that sends people back to work after, a couple weeks, it is a monumental feat in terms of physical endurance, in terms of your body being torn apart. So not really recognizing that physical recovery piece is a huge factor in why things are so difficult for people. And then psychologically, we have an actual change in our brain that's taking place. As the birthing parent, your brain is actually changing to becoming more in tune with your baby. But if people aren't prepared for that shift, that psychological shift, that change in your neural pathways, that can be pretty alarming and unexpected for people. And then again, the biggest thing I think that you touched on is the mismatch we have in our society, not in every society, but very, very strongly here in our society, which is exacerbated sometimes through Instagram and social media of, this image of perfect parenthood and why don't you have your 5 babies in matching outfits, and already parading them out, going to the gym and going to the grocery store. And there's just not that awareness of this period being really important for psychological and physical recovery, rather than just, joyful, excited parenthood. So that's something I'm hoping that we can change as a society moving forward.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Well, that is a good segue into WellMama. Could you talk about your organization and the services that you provide?
Sure. Yeah. So our goal is to provide support for new, expectant, and grieving parents. And, aside from kind of this main focus area of pregnancy and postpartum, sorry, I have my puppy here with me. We really expand beyond pregnancy and postpartum to serve the whole reproductive spectrum, in terms of people trying to conceive, people maybe dealing with infertility, people dealing with infant loss, pregnancy and infant loss. So there's really a whole spectrum that we have within this reproductive sphere here. I don't want to distract people with our puppy playing in the background. But so the ways that WellMama provides that support is through peer-led support services. So that just means that it is another local parent who has been through the difficulties of pregnancy or postpartum or infertility or loss, and they have now, recovered enough to be able to give back to the community. So we provide support through these peer-led support mechanisms, through text messaging support, So if people just text the word support to 541-525-0495, that's our text support number. You can get one-on-one confidential support with a peer support person. We also have all of our support groups, which are accessible online now. A silver lining of COVID-19 is we quickly shifted all of these to be online Zoom format, like, most of the organizations that have been dealing with the shifts from the pandemic. But it has been a silver lining because we've gotten people who are able to attend the support groups now who weren't necessarily able to before. So people in remote areas, people who simply have a new baby and, it's really difficult to leave the house.
Yeah.
So that's been a great resource. We also do wellness workshops, things like processing your birth story, learning, coping mechanisms, processing your postpartum identity. And then we also offer referrals to healthcare professionals, mental health professionals, and we offer education services for professionals in the community. So anyone who's on the front lines dealing with parents, how can they be more aware of why becoming a new parent is difficult, and how, as an organization or as a professional in the community, you can support parents better.
Great. Do you know if you guys have plans to provide in-person groups, or are you just kind of waiting on things?
Yeah. So, the evidence keeps changing in terms of risks to pregnant people for COVID-19. But from what we've seen, this is still a high-risk group. So, it's not going to be anytime soon where we're going to invite people back into a closed room for a support group. It may be that we shift to more outdoor support groups in the summertime. As we know, transmission is a lot less likely when you're outdoors and have more, space to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be a direction that we move in the next few months here.
Okay, great. And what about other resources in the community for pregnant, postpartum, grieving families?
Definitely. Yeah. So, one of the main challenges with being a new parent is feeding your baby. So we don't actually offer lactation or feeding support, but there's some great resources in the community that do offer that support through WIC, through Daisy Chain, through Eugene Pediatrics actually is offering phone support for lactation. So those are some great resources that have turned to, phone support in the pandemic times, which is really helpful for people, I think. And then, of course, Parenting Now is offering their digital services for people. Our community birth center is offering a meetup for parents. So we live in a great community where there's lots of things going on for parents. There can always be more. Parents need a lot of support. So we're happy to continue expanding our services, but these are other great organizations.
Great. Okay. And then what are some ways that we can do, and just like as community members, how can we be better at supporting friends who are pregnant or postpartum? Because I think a lot of it is like we were talking about, like that community expectation that like people are so happy to have a baby, they don't even need your help, or, so like how can we kind of help shift that to be more supportive?
Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot we can do as a society to change that. I would say, it starts with kind of getting out of your own excitement about, tiny cute onesies and tiny cute baby things. And, when we think about supporting a new parent, it's often, I'm going to buy them something cute for their baby, or I'm going to buy them something for their baby shower. Let's shift that mentality and say, why don't you gift them some postpartum doula services? Why don't you set up a meal train for them? People need to eat nourishing foods after they have a baby, or if they're dealing with the loss of a baby, the last thing you want to do is figure out what to eat, or if you have other children, figure out how to feed your family. So setting up a meal train is huge. And I see that a lot in this community, which is fantastic. But, rather than just wanting to go over and see the baby, why don't you go over and offer to clean the house? You should never go ask to see the baby if you're not coming with an offer of food or cleaning or childcare or, one of the above.
Right. Yeah, I agree from my experience. Cool. Well, thanks, Emily. Do you have anything else that you think would be important to share with folks right now?
Sure. So right now, WellMama is conducting a community survey where we're really trying to hear from people about, what was their experience becoming a new parent, or, grieving the loss of a baby, or, trying to conceive. It's called our Parenting Journeys Story Sharing Opportunity. And we're offering a $10 gift card to every single person that completes this survey, because we really value what the community has experienced, what their struggles have been. We want to hear their suggestions. We're in a period of, really looking at WellMama programs and services and how can we make things better. So we're really meeting the needs of all of our different community members. So it's really important that we hear from people, and we will absolutely be taking into account every single response that we receive, and that will help us guide and shape our programs of the future. So that can all be found at wellmamaoregon.com/survey. And again, $10 gift card for every single person that responds. We really value and appreciate all of these responses. So thank you to those that have already filled it out. And for those that haven't, we really hope to hear from you.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much, Emily. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Ursula, and thanks for providing this resource to the community. You are all doing great work as well, and we appreciate everything that you're doing for families.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Thanks.